tell us, first of all, about the work that has gone in to this year's event to secure such a strong-looking Senior Bowl roster? Many of the big names in college football are going to be attending this year.
Yeah, I'll start off, Rob, first by saying, we wouldn't have gotten to this point where here we are the day before player arrival day if we didn't feel we could, if we didn't know confidently we could pull this thing off safely. There was a lot, there's a lot of different touch points in terms of our research, whether it be at the college level, the NFL level, infectious disease specialists, our hospital system. I just wanted to make sure we could pull this thing off safely. Once we got to that point where we were confident we could do that, then it was really full speed ahead and be confident in our messaging. We didn't want to look like we were wavering at all, because then players wouldn't be fully bought in. I mean, even as confident as we were, up until a month ago, there was a lot of agents, asking, "Are you really going to do this? Is it really going to happen?" So no, we're just, we're thankful we're to this point. The NFL, the players, they're all the rapid tests and their negative tests are coming in left and right. We're making everyone submit a test within 48 hours of arrival, which we're in that window right now. Everyone's going to be tested upon arrival tomorrow, and then again on Sunday before we even bring them into the week. They can't even register without those 3 negative tests. So we could talk for a couple hours about how this game's going to look differently this year and all the different protocols in place to keep the players and the NFL guys safe. But needless to say, it's pretty extensive.
What is your reaction when you get a phone call and find out, for example, that the recent winner of the Heisman Trophy is going to be in Mobile?
It was exciting, man. It was really exciting. So, that was just put together with his agent, who I've known a long time, Roosevelt Barnes, who does a great job. And really one of the pulls was putting him with the Dolphins staff. Obviously the injury in the national championship game. Deonte is going to be down for the week. He's up in Tuscaloosa right now today, getting a recheck on that hand. But it was really important to get him here. And, him with the Dolphins having the 3rd pick and their fan base already kind of banging the drum to reunite him with Tua. It's going to be really beneficial for Deonte, because he's going to be able to go through meetings with them during the week. Obviously interview with the other 31 teams as well. But that intimate time with the Dolphins will be big, both in the meeting room and on the practice field. And, this isn't a precedent. Like, we're not trying to set a precedent and bring in injured guys to the Senior Bowl. I think that's a slippery slope, and we're not going to do that. But this is a different year. We've all had to adjust to things in our daily lives, our personal lives, and our work lives. And these guys like Landon Dickerson's coming down as well, the center from Alabama. Trey Sermon, the great running back from Ohio State, who dislocated his collarbone on that first play of the national championship game. And those guys like Landon and Trey, they jumped down their invites in early November. These guys have been committed to the game for a long time. So to have those injuries that late in the process, now that the combine isn't going to happen and the pro days are in real jeopardy, and even if they do pull off the pro day workouts, they're not going to be, having face-to-face contact with these teams. So knowing that the rest of the spring for these players is probably going to be a Zoom format like we're doing right now, I'm kind of making an exception this year. We're bringing a couple injured players down because these guys have earned it. They deserve it. In a normal year, they'd be able to go to the combine and have that face-to-face interaction, or go to pro days and do it. With the strong possibility that wouldn't happen for them. We're just trying to do what's right by them and do the right thing. So yeah, we're bringing guys like Deonte and Landon and Trey down here, and Charles Snowden from Virginia as well, who fractured his ankle back in November.
From a fan's perspective, it feels like you've made the Senior Bowl very accessible for people. So, for example, the YouTube videos of the drills, the fans can get a real feel for who these players are, how they performed, the connection on social media, your willingness to answer questions and communicate with the fans as well. Is that one of the main things you wanted to do when you got involved with the Senior Bowl?
Yeah, I really wanted to pull back the curtain a little bit on our game and also the scouting profession. I don't think there's ever been a real voice of the scout on social media. I mean, I was never on it before I took this job. I didn't have a Twitter account. I didn't have any of that. But I think there's a lot of stuff out there. I think there's a lot of interest in it, probably more so than ever, about at least the scouting profession. And I felt there was a lot of opportunity for our game as well. So really building a scouting staff a couple years ago, having all those guys out at games on the weekends and doing the field level videos, trying to show in the fans like who we're interested in, and kind of keeping them engaged throughout the process, like we did. And it's really served as a great recruiting tool for us because, the first year, a lot of those guys said they hadn't even heard of the Senior Bowl before they got the invite, and that's, we need to change that, and so now, like, we've had a couple guys that have told, I've gotten them on the phone and they're like, this has been a dream, for one of the kids said he went back to school last year, like thought about leaving early, and he came back because he wanted to come and play in the Senior Bowl. So that stuff means a ton. So yeah, we've worked hard at it. We really have. Dave Rogers, who does the social stuff on our side, has done an unbelievable job. So just to tell you like where we've gone in that area, in some, before getting here, so there were some good months where it was a million impressions in a month. And last year in 2019, we felt like we were kicking butt, and we had 6 million in December. And this December, we just had 17 million impressions just on Senior Bowl Twitter, not my account. I don't even look at my stuff. But just on the Senior Bowl site. So we've made progress, and it's helped us with the players, and hopefully it's helped us engage the fans and created some interest in the game.
Now, purely from a Seahawks fans perspective, I think a lot of them are going to be keeping an eye on the offensive linemen this year. You've got the big SEC names there on the American roster. You're Alex Leatherwoods, Ben Cleveland, Deonte Brown, Trey Smith on the national team, guys like Aaron Banks and Creed Humphrey. It's looking like a really good group, isn't it? What stands out for you?
It's a really good group. 2 years ago, my first year at the game, we had 5 offensive linemen go in the first round. We had just on the North team that year alone, the Raiders squad, I think they had 9 of the 10 guys went in the first 3 rounds. And I really feel like this year's group is right there with that group. So you brought up some of the names, and then you got guys like Dylan Radens from North Dakota State, Spencer Brown from Northern Iowa. So a couple small school guys that really talented, I think could really rise up coming out of our week. So this is a good year. Last year's O-line group was down. The Seahawks grabbed a great one in Damian Lewis. Going back, talking to those guys, I'm obviously very close with all those guys. And going back over Senior Bowl tape, he graded out the best of anyone in our game last year. So, he made a bunch of all-rookie teams, which was great. So they got a good one in kind of a down year. If there's a year to need offensive line talent, add offensive linemen, this is the year to do it.
You mentioned Landon Dickerson earlier. If he was completely healthy, what kind of a range would we be talking about in terms of a draft grade for a player like that?
He wasn't getting out of the first round, Rob. He was going to be he was a slam dunk first round pick. One, for his play. He can play guard and play center at a high level. A lot of guys are much better at one spot than the other, and you kind of get some value in a pinch out of him, like a center that can play guard in a pinch. But no, he's legit at both spots, high-end player at both spots. And what makes Landon different, I think you saw it during the national championship game. The dude suits up in full dress uniform and goes out there for the coin toss and gets in for the kneel down. So he's just wired different. People in Tuscaloosa have said for a couple of years now, he changed that room from the minute he stepped in. Like, he amped up the level of toughness and competitiveness in that offensive line room that they haven't had in a long, long time up there. And so he's just a special dude. And I've communicated with him a lot over the last month or so because he's going to come down here and he's going to have to get rehab. So we've had a lot of phone conversations. And when you talk to Landon, it's like talking to a 35-year-old grown man. I mean, he's not a college kid. Like, this guy's just maturity level is really different. So yeah, he was going to be a slam dunk first rounder, probably all the way up into the mid first round. With the injury, we just, you never know with that. You never know how much he slides because of that.
I wanted to ask you as well about Ben Cleveland, just because that's a player we've been talking about recently. What are your thoughts on him? Because he just looks so powerful for Georgia, but I think he might have a little bit more athleticism than maybe people give him credit for as well.
Yeah, speaking specifically to Seattle, they've really, from my time there, when Todd Cable was the offensive line coach, we were looking for, really athletic guys that could play in a zone scheme and get out of their stance quick and move laterally and get to the second level. Well, they've completely shifted that. They're looking for big, strong dudes that can play square inside and not get their edges worked and move people off the ball. So Ben Cleveland fits that. He's a great fit for them, as is Deonte Brown. Deonte is very similar to Damian Lewis was last year, and probably league-wide graded higher than Damian was last year coming into the week. So the guys they're looking for, Trey Smith from Tennessee, another guy you mentioned, and Aaron Banks from Notre Dame fits them. So a lot of guys that really fit what they're trying to get done in Seattle right now.
Over the last couple of years, there's been receivers that really elevate themselves at the Senior Bowl and have really gone on and not just had success in terms of where they've gone in the draft, but they've then very quickly had success in the NFL. Are there a few players to keep an eye on this year, Jim, from this receiver group that could do the same?
Yeah, I think there's a few. You bring up guys in the past, like the past couple of years, Terry McLaurin came down here as the fifth, sixth round guy. We really invited him. I invited him off the special team stuff. There just wasn't enough balls to go around in Columbus, so you didn't really get to see the receiver stuff. Like last year, Van Jefferson really helped himself from Florida and had a good rookie year with the Rams. But looking at this year's group, D. Eskridge is a guy that I'm a huge fan of from Western Michigan. Kadarius Toney's getting all the shine right now with what he's done at Florida, and they're on TV all the time. Everyone sees Florida play, and I think Kadarius is going in the first round as well. He's a stud, and I've been watching him since high school. He's a Mobile boy. So, but D. Eskridge is a name you don't hear a lot about right now, but the dude is electric. He has a big play waiting to happen, and I've said it a couple times. Like he looked like he was playing at a totally different speed on Mac tape this year. He looked like he was on fast forward. So he's probably going to be a low 4.3 guy. He plays every bit of that, and just get the ball in his hands, whether it's in the return game or receiver. He's got a chance to really elevate coming out of this year's game.
Someone brought his name up to me yesterday. I'd not watched anything, and I just watched a highlights video last night, and just I can't believe that nobody is talking about him. But what is his kind of backstory? Because wasn't he playing corner for a little bit a couple of years ago, and he's kind of gone back to receiver? And how much potential does he have?
Yeah, we liked him over the summer, Rob, at receiver. When I watched him at receiver, I'm like, I can't believe they were thinking about, and not just thinking about it, they tried him at corner. And the reason they did that was because of his mindset. He was, he was the most competitive guy in that wideout group. He was the toughest guy in that wideout group, and he embraced it. Some guys shy away from any kind of position switch, but D embraced it, and but they ended up moving him back, and he made a huge jump. I mean, we liked him on junior tape, but more is like the 4th round range is where we had him over the summer, and now he's like almost at the top of the board at receiver for us. And it's cool. It shows the work they put in. It shows what guys can do between their junior and senior years. And we have a number of players like that. But at that position, yeah, D made a huge jump. And just talking to, some guys in the league after we invited him, they're like, man, we liked him at corner, over the summer. We would have liked to see him stay at corner. So he's just a really dynamic athlete, really explosive guy. And he'll show up during the week a lot.
Is there a physical, tough, explosive running back to keep an eye on?
Yeah, this year's running back group is the best I can remember. And I'm not saying that's not self-serving. That's just where it's just a product of having a lot of good running backs. Usually, as you know, that position group, they bounce after their junior year if they're high-profile guys, because they're just trying to save that tread for the NFL. But this year's group with Najee Harris, we talked about Trey Sermon, Ramondre Stevenson from Oklahoma is a guy that I would think Seattle will be interested in, being a big 240-pound back with great feet. Larry Roundtree from Missouri is one of my favorite players in this entire draft. And then you got guys like Michael Carter from North Carolina and Khalil Herbert from Vodtech, who made huge jumps this year. So just a really, really deep group. I mean, I think in a normal year, we struggle to get a couple backs go in the 2nd or 3rd round. Antonio Gibson last year out of Memphis, who had a great rookie year for Washington, was one of those guys last year. But we might have 6 or 7 of these backs go in the first 3 rounds.
And I focused a lot on the offensive players. Generally on defense, are there a couple of guys that you are really looking forward to seeing in that week?
Yeah, I think some Seahawks fans up there in the Pacific Northwest will know this name better than I do. I still struggle with Levi's last name. I don't know if you can help me out, but
I've been calling him Levi for the whole year. So
I kind of have been too. But Levi, I'm looking at his card right now. Onwuzurike, I think something close to that. But to me, he's the best 3 technique in the draft. He opted out this year from UW, obviously, and has a lot to prove during the week, but such a good football player. And you don't hear a lot about him on Twitter and in the media. Like, he's not a hot guy yet, but he's going to be. I think he's going to end up in the middle of the 1st round, probably somewhere. He's a guy you can't look at the stat line and judge Levi's impact. He is truly one of those disruptive players that creates for everyone around him. just blow stuff up. He's so initially quick off the snap, and he's so good with his hands that he's a guy that we're really excited about.
I wanted to ask you a quick general question about your old team in Seattle. What do you think is the key this offseason to help them ensure that next year they can take a step forward in the postseason, and maybe this time next year they're looking ahead to being in the Final Four coming up?
I hate commenting too much on John's team up there, but I think they need to figure out their identity. I think they lost that identity a little bit this year. They came out, gangbusters on offense. When I say their identity, really on offense, they came out chucking it around and let Russ cook was on the tip of everyone's tongue. And then over the course of the year, they just sputtered. And they got to figure out, do they want to be that physical run team still? Having Chris Carson banged up and things of that nature hurt them. But what do they want to be? And can they find that balance? Can they find that balance between having the power run game and really wearing teams down and dictating things that way, and then taking shots down the field, or what do they want to be? And I think that that's what they're trying to answer right now with this offensive coordinator hire that I know they're in the middle of right now.
Jamie, it's a week that we all look forward to. Do you know what? A year ago, I said next year I am going to go to the Senior Bowl. I am going to travel over there, and then of course, coronavirus puts paid to a lot of plans, but it's going to entertain a lot of people, I think, who've not got a great deal to do, who may be stuck at home at the moment. So have a great week and really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, well, Rob, we'll get you back down. We'll get you here in 2022. We'll get through this thing, and we'll blow it out for the fans, because that was the hardest part of this year, putting this year together. Really want to do it for the players, do it for the NFL guys, because they both need it so badly, this event. But we had to strip away everything for our community in the fans. And next year we'll be back bigger, better than ever next year. So hopefully you can make it across the pond.